Good evening, everyone. Duke Forrest here, nay Richard Copperthwaite. Thanks for joining us for another edition of the best damn sports show in Franklin County. And I trust, I know the staff, Big Zach's been hard at work, and the rest of the staff. I know there are some issues, I guess, last week with audio quality. Imagine, Darrin, nobody being able to understand me. Mr. Fitzgerald checked in and had nothing good to say about my voice. I think otherwise, hopefully it was okay. Anyway, happy to have Mr. Darrin Ries on hand tonight. Darrin, of course, a former girls lacrosse coach at BFA. Boy, that was how many years ago?
Oh my gosh!
Do you miss that?
Do I miss it? I don't miss it. Well, yes, I do miss it, but the program's come a long way. But now coaching, helping coach Zach's baseball team, who's now in 7th grade. So
really, yeah, my kid's about to head into 9th grade, high school. That's unreal.
Serious?
So I mean, Zach will be 8th grade next year.
8th grade next year.
Wow, that's wild.
Growing up.
And in fact, we were looking forward to Zach, but he's got what? He's got soccer practice?
He went from baseball today. He went from baseball all the way to soccer.
Really?
So nonstop.
What a guy.
AAU, baseball, soccer, basketball.
And it's funny how kids, I mean, my kid couldn't be more not into sports, and your guy is all over them.
Yeah, but your kid's so well-rounded, the
I
sailing,
don't know about that,
the
but
academics.
he does. Well, I don't know about that, but he does okay. Anyway, hey, good to have you on board.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. Oh my gosh, these new digs.
Oh yeah, what about the news?
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit?
Last week was my first show. We're talking over significant buckos and stuff. These guys saved up money for a long time, but I think they did a great job. Kudos to the staff.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Hard at work. We there were no shows for, I think, a few weeks in April. I hit the road as per usual right around April 1st or so, my good Southern sports trip. And it was kind of good timing because I didn't miss much. Nighthawk did one show when I was gone, and then there were no shows for the rest of April, just as a transition moved out here. And last week we had the first sports show out here, and I had a St. Albans Today show out here too.
Was there a grand opening, like the public?
I think,
I encourage people to come out and see this. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a great building. I hate to, I'm the last to know anything out here, and Zach's out of my eyesight now. I think there is going to be Zach, we are talking a grand opening for the public out here at some point. Is that? Yeah, we'll have to ask the boss lady Elizabeth about that. But I think so. But I think there is some. Tim Smith was, as in Mayor Tim, guested with me last week along with Bill Nyan, the St. Albans Town Select Board Chair, and Tim always happy to see places that the public might make use of. There's a nice meeting room on the other side of our wall here. So,
I encourage anybody.
So yeah, hopefully the public again. Talk to Elizabeth, talk to the boss lady, but hopefully the public can get some use out of this very nice building.
This building is incredible.
Isn't it nice?
Incredible.
I mean, it's a Weeman Lamphere Architects, but it's a nice design. It's no cookie cutter building. It's got a good look to it.
And nothing to knock when you were at BFA. Absolutely incredible.
I've been trying to say for weeks.
Building.
Thank BFA was so good to us for 15 plus years.
Oh, the memories.
No, I think, and thanks to BFA. No charge for that. BFA treated us great, but yeah, having a ton more space, and I know for the staff especially, it must be they must kind of still, their minds must be blown a bit when they walk in here during the day.
I know the hospital does a lot of programs through here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sensational building, absolutely sensational building, and I encourage anybody who wants to get their message out in the community.
Hey, it's Northwest Access TV. That's what we're all about. How are things at the hospital?
Hospital's doing sensational.
Of course, my man Darrin, Darrin and I go back to radio station days. Darrin, I'm so impressed. I could no more have imagined changing my career midstream as you did. That's just so impressive to me. And it sounds like you've done well. Happy with what you're doing?
Oh, never been happier. Wish I had done it earlier in life. And then
did you think about being a nurse earlier in life?
I never had.
So where did that come from?
My mom had been a nurse.
Oh, really?
Martha
Martin,
who was a sensational physical therapy and very passionate and loves her job. And
of course, her father having been a doctor, great Dr. Cassavan.
And then when I got laid off at IBM, I decided something that had some job security.
It sounds like you have that.
I love it. Yeah. And anybody who's young out there listening to our voices, what a great field to go in. The medical field, and there will always be openings, and the shortages are incredible.
I've got a relative who's a great kid, the daughter of my first cousin, Sarah Molly O'Neill, who's graduating in about 10 days or so from UVM nursing school. It sounds like she's done a great job down there. Sounds like good school.
And she'll have lots and lots of opportunities.
No, it sounds like, geez, I keep occasionally run into traveling nurses, folks who it sounds like if you're nurse and good at what you're doing. Yeah, talk about as much job security out there, I would think, as anybody is about.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing I'd like to do as a traveling nurse and other opportunities.
Good for you.
The opportunities are unlimited. All right, we're here for sports.
Okay, let's talk some sports. Again, the number is on our screen. We have a new call-in number, 528-5315 or 528-5315, 528-5315. So please check in. We'd love to hear from you. Of course, Darrin being basically a Philly guy, myself being a basic Boston guy. I guess the biggie tonight, obviously, Sixers. You probably know and have heard the stat. You realize how many times an NBA team has come back from a 3-0 deficit in a playoff series? How about zero? Isn't that unreal? It's either 129-0 or 130. I've heard both stats. But isn't that mind-blowing that nobody's ever done it? Of course, now that I talk about it, just like I love it when, like my man JJ Redick's at the free throw line. JJ, maybe the best free throw shooter in the game. He missed 2 in a row the other night. They still won, of course. So I hope I'm not jinxing my Celtics, but
I think we got jinxed when we shot the confetti.
What about Dan Shaughnessy had I maybe have it here. Yeah, he had a fun time with that column.
Oh my!
Shaughnessy drives me crazy. Of course, he had the Sixers buried even after their last win and stuff. Just like he had the Patriots. Oh God, Super Bowl. Of course they're going to beat the Eagles. Nick Foles, what are they worried about? I hate, and Shaughnessy's great, this is a Boston Globe columnist. I hate his columns like that, and he's doing the same with the Celtics, of course. Celtics are a pretty likable team. Talk about an overachieving team.
I was just going to say, how are they doing this with their 2 superstars?
Brad Stevens gets just incredibly good words. Of course, Bob Ryan had a column on him a while ago and said, boy, if he ever leaves the pros, the one college he might end up at is, College USA, Duke, being Coach K's successor, I'm sure. Brad Stevens seems
Coach
to be
K's not going anywhere, though, this year.
He's going to go, not for a while. Of course, he has. And Nighthawk gives me, if you were here, Nighthawk is just giving me so much grief about one and done. Gee, Duke, I used to respect Coach K, but now he and Coach Cal one and dones. I'm saying, what's he supposed to do? But the one and done is getting to me a little bit. Maybe, it seems like maybe you could make a case for maybe go after more kind of second-tier guys who might hang around for a couple, 3 years. Next year is even more ridiculous. I think the Dukies have 4 of the top 5 high school recruits coming in, all of whom no doubt will just be around for 1 year.
Anyway. Your football program is impressive, though.
Well, last year was a real funny year. They started 4-0, and they've been on a roll. I think they had been to 3 straight bowl games, maybe. Finally won one at Yankee Stadium, I think. Straight bowl. Anyway, started 4-0 last year. Lost the next 6 games. They were 4-6, 2 games left, both of which, of course, they had to win to become bowl eligible, which takes such a hard, high standard, 500.
Right.
Anyway, they ended up beating Georgia Tech, who was favored at Duke. Not a great, but always a decent Georgia Tech team, to go to 5-6. And they played at Wake. Wake had a good team. They were a bowl team, winning record. They were certainly underdogs in that game, and they won that game too. So they got to 6-6. And who did they play? They did play a bowl game and actually won it. So it's kind of a weird season. Their quarterback, Daniel Jones, I think, was getting some early talk as maybe bolting to the pros early on, but after 6 straight losses, that talk faded away. Anyway, back to 76ers and Celts.
8 o'clock tonight. 8 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Cavs. Otherwise, that game would have been on right now had Cleveland been playing a 7th game.
Oh my gosh, what to watch!
So what do you think in the Sixers? I almost feel like the pressure. Given the Sixers' pathetic performance before last game, I almost think the pressure, they're playing kind of with house money now. Looks like they blew it. I think the pressure's on the Celtics. If the Celtics don't win tonight, if the Sixers can win tonight, they obviously go back to Philly for Game 6. You got to think they can win Game 6 in Philly. Then you get to Game 7, who knows?
And who knows? But, oh my gosh.
Am I dreaming? Have you got some hope for them?
I didn't have hope for them to get this far. I didn't think they'd get past Miami.
What about is that right?
The end of the year.
You didn't think they'd get past Miami? But they won like 16 games in a row.
Yes.
They're unreal.
And so now everybody's going after this role model that the Sixers did to tank, to get these top picks, and then you're going to have this.
Seemed to work out for them. Although, who's the guard? I can't even... Who's the top draft pick they got?
Ben Simmons?
No. This year, the guard who hasn't played at all.
Oh, I couldn't even tell you.
Oh, really?
I couldn't even tell you.
So he played a little bit late season, but the Celtics, of course, wisely got where Danny Ainge got the guy Danny Ainge kept saying was the best player out there. And I think there were Jason Tatum. Although actually the guy Donovan Mitchell for Utah Jazz, he had he had a great year.
And they just got
another Dookie connection. Quinn Snyder, in addition to Brad Stevens, I bet you'll see Brad Stevens and Quinn Snyder may well be the top two coaches in voting for Coach of the Year. Quinn Snyder with a decent but hardly great Utah team did a great job.
Well, now they're talking.
Brad Stevens is unreal.
Well, Toronto did so well, and they're talking about him for Coach of the Year. And
is that right? But I think Toronto was supposed to be a decent team, but they probably did better than expected.
And now they're talking. Well, I mean, to finish
before
the top,
the playoffs.
Yeah,
no,
and then they're talking about him being fired just because he can't beat Cleveland.
Is that right?
Oh, has Cleveland come alive?
Jeez.
My gosh!
So what about
incredible.
LeBron? It's funny. I've always had pretty good feelings about LeBron and still do. Can't you easily make the case that best basketball player of all time?
You know,
can certainly
that's
make
a
that
good
case,
subject.
can't you?
That's a good subject, and I don't understand why LeBron gets
Here's
such
our
a
man. This is from Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago. Headline: Staying up late to watch LeBron James.
What's he, six straight championships?
I think
straight.
Yeah, I think six straight. Yeah, championship.
And everybody always compares him to Jordan, and I mean,
very different. They're very different players.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, I guess Jordan could. I mean, Jordan wasn't the greatest defensive player and stuff. No,
but
LeBron,
he had
LeBron's
Rodman,
unreal.
he had Pippen,
Yeah.
and I just think and it doesn't seem like LeBron gets a fair shake. I mean, to go to that many championships and to carry so many teams single-handedly.
Yeah.
And they talk about the Heat, how the Heat, they built this great team around the Heat.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, basically before the trade deadline,
Yeah.
they traded away everyone and reassembled a team. And look, they just dominated Toronto.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess they're saying it would be a great
Well, it's
series.
funny they did indeed dominate Toronto after a much tougher than
Oh, my
expected
gosh,
series against
Indianapolis.
Indiana, right?
I mean,
What was the story
cow.
with that? I mean, that was the first round series that they had ever lost one game in, much less three.
And poor LeBron.
But Toronto seemed to pay for that. They seemed to get it together against Toronto.
So
And now they got either Celtics or Sixers. Obviously, Cleveland's obviously favored no matter who they play.
by the time you're on next week, I mean, the Celtics are just playing so well.
It's good. It's an incredible overachieving team. Yeah. They've done
Well
well. I mean,
coached.
didn't hurt the Jason Tatum. I mean, look at his last three drafts. And what about Terry Rozier? There was booing. I heard the clip of this, the audio clip the other day with NBA draft news. I guess it was just 3 years ago. The Celtics didn't have a rookie pick, but their first round draft pick was Terry Rozier out of Louisville. And whoever, it was one of the sports talk guys, played the clip because he said, "Oh, what a horrible pick." And they were showing Celtics fans gathered, I assume, somewhere in Boston. There was actual booing when they picked Terry Rozier. And I wasn't happy. I think I vaguely knew this guy, Terry Rozier. So kudos to Danny Ainge. Terry Rozier, not every game, but has had some unbelievable
I like Danny
games.
Ainge. I've
And he's
always
followed
liked
up
Ainge.
Terry Rozier with Jaylen Brown, out of the Golden State, or out of California, and then Jason Tatum, who had kind of hit the wall seemingly early on, but has come back and is playing pretty much out of his mind as now a 20-year-old rookie. So Danny's drafted well, but with Gordon Hayward going down in the first 5 minutes and then losing Kyrie, unreal effort by the Celts. Anyway.
Fantastic chemistry. Now,
So
do you watch all the Celtics
Oh, no.
games?
Nighthawk's the guy. Nighthawk, I think, watched every second of the game. He'll tape them and just blow through commercials and watch them like in an hour.
Really?
No, I paid probably a little more attention to the Bruins this year. I'll watch some Celtics, but no, I'll never radio. I'll hear more Red Sox on radio. I'm just driving. Seems like I spend my life driving.
For the first time in a long time, I listened to basketball on the radio, which was the Celtics. And on the way home tonight, I listened to
basketball's good. Sean Grandy and Cedric Maxwell for the Celts, so they're fun. I'm a radio guy,
Nothing like baseball on the radio.
Baseball's the best.
I mean, I like the Red Sox, and I love
Baseball's the best. But even the other sport, like I said, I'm just driving so much, and I hear a lot of Bruins on radio too. Those guys are good, but baseball's the best.
Oh my gosh, I know you're a Red Sox guy, but
Baseball's
do you ever
the
listen?
best.
Do you have John
In
Sterling?
fact, it's funny you mentioned that. Last night I had my guy Alex yesterday, driving him back to. No, I'm sorry, I didn't have him. I'm sorry, I had him today and tomorrow and Monday. I didn't have him yesterday. I was in Burlington yesterday. Went down there and came back later, but in fact, I listened to John Sterling and Susan Waldman
Oh,
instead of the
my.
Red Sox guys.
I love listening
Boy,
to
and the
John
homer, I
Sterling.
think John Sterling mentioned, I heard Stanton's first homer last night. I mean, Sterling's announcing, he makes it sound like it's a line drive down in the left field corner. All of a sudden he says, it's gone, or whatever he says. But I think he said he had never seen a homer get out of a ballpark so fast. Did you see that, Pertine?
I haven't seen the.
This is
I
his
haven't been home all
first
day.
of 2 homers.
Right, I knew he had 2.
But it just sounded like it was just an incredible line shot down the left field line that got out of there just in no time.
I'm glad he's.
But no,
coming
I
back
like
home.
Sterling. Sterling, this came up, I think, last year.
How
on the
old is
show.
he? Isn't he?
I had no idea. I would have guessed maybe, I don't know, my age. Is he that old? 60s? He's
close
70.
to
I think
80.
he turns 80 this year.
Does turn 80.
And of course,
my.
somebody, I'm sure a bunch of people, John, when are you going to retire? Retire. My voice is as good now as it ever was, and I'm sure it is. He's got great pipes.
Oh, he does.
But they're fun. No, I like those
he
guys. They're
does.
very fair, too. Very fair. Of course, Susan's a Boston lady.
Is she? I always wondered what that
Grew up
accent
in
was.
Brookline, Mass, I think.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, she's a...
And she's been on for how long? Years now.
Yeah, no, but they're good. I like those guys. Like I said, I listen to them. No offense to the Red Sox guys, but I listen to them.
And I love the Red
last night.
Sox guys as well.
And boy, what about the Yanks? Was last night 16 out of 17 for the Yanks now? I think so.
Yeah, I know it was. I
They're
don't
playing
know the
out of their
exact
minds.
number,
The
but
one loss to Houston at Houston. Oh, the Yanks. I thought before the season the Yanks were the toast to the AL East. I still think that, although I'd like to think the Red Sox are good enough to get the wild card.
And then
Although the David Price thing, this is just like I played just 3 holes of golf today. We ran into men's league, which I should have been thinking about because that's why we're missing Mr. Dave Handy for just about all summer. He's got Wednesday night men's league, so Joe and I just could play 3. We have to be off the course by 5 o'clock.
for men's league.
Yeah, and I guess they start on all the different holes. So
You've never done men's league?
well, I got Wednesday night showtime, but no, I'm not no.
Did you get a membership
I
this
am
year?
a membership this year.
You did get
just
a
because I
membership.
got the deal at the end of last year, but I still will probably throw away money. But I am a member.
How's the course?
Of course, it's good. It was a lot more than I played with Joe. Nighthawk's been away. I played with Joe maybe 2.
How many times have you
last
been out?
Saturday? Maybe last week sometime. Just second time. Just like 12 holes so far. Anyway, it was real wet. My sneakers were soaked after the first hole. The first time we went out. Nice today, dry, nice and dry. Green's just wicked fast, lightning fast as usual.
Oh,
But anyway.
they take great shape.
So
Great care of that
Zach's, I know, a good golfer. Ian likes it. I got to give Ian, for like 5 years, Ian, I got to get you a lesson with Mike Swim. Hopefully, I'll finally get it together this year.
Well,
I throw him in the clinic, but Ian's
I was
got a
gonna
good
say,
attitude. He likes golf.
I encourage anyone to do that clinic.
And
That
I'm a
clinic's
Champlain guy. You
sensational.
know what the deal in Enosburg is? Ian's over in Enosburg with his mother at 1906 House most of the time. How about $50 for a junior membership?
How old's a junior?
Right, play all the golf. Probably under. I don't know if it's under 18 or under 16. I guess anyway.
$50?
$50. That's what it was the last 2 years. Probably hasn't. Hopefully, it hasn't gone up. So I'll get him another one of those. I'll get a punch card in Enosburg. But I just got to get Mike. Every year I mention it, but Ian likes being out on the golf course. He has a good time. But Zach, we're talking a good. Who wins? If Zach's playing with you, who wins that match?
Oh my goodness, Zach! Every time.
Does he really?
Every time
Really?
Zach does.
You don't play.
Every
You don't
time.
have
He
much
should.
time to play golf, I bet.
Oh, I make time. I'll make time to play with him.
Yeah?
But yeah, I don't. You're right. I don't get out there, but I want to do it more. In Enosburg, that's right around the corner from there right now. And
That's true. Well, $50. That might not hurt to spend 50.
Literally,
Maybe
5
Zach can
minutes
give
away.
Ian some pointers at some point. So Zach's a good.
Just
he's a good golfer.
all
What
around
tees
good
does he
athlete.
hit off?
Oh, he's still playing. He's still playing the little tees.
No, I can't blame him for that. But he's good golf. He's got a great swing.
He has a beautiful swing. I keep
Boy,
going
so
to-
he's unreal. So we're talking golf, baseball, soccer. What am I
Basketball.
missing? And basketball.
This AAU basketball. Have you ever done this AAU
I
basketball?
it seems like I don't hear good things about it.
I don't want to say. It's
I guess what I
17 so
hear is just
expensive.
just the
expensive.
pressure and stuff, but it's more like just the time and stuff.
The last 2 weeks we've been in St.
Wait, so
Johnsbury,
he-
Manchester.
have you really?
It's almost getting to be like hockey.
Wow.
528-5315.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you folks.
Did you get calls last
Talk
week?
to this guy.
No,
Well, like I
don't
said,
believe
Mr. Fitzgerald called in and said he couldn't understand me. And I think Nighthawk's brother Bobby was good enough to call. Of course, Joe at the golf course said,
Probably
Richard,
everyone. It's so beautiful. I don't blame anybody for being outside.
Oh, no, I hear you.
It's gorgeous outside.
I mean,
gorgeous.
Joe just asked me tonight on the golf course. He said, Richard, aren't you concerned about that new time? Was that your idea? Look, think of all the competition you have. I said,
That's true.
Joe, I got
Nightly
other
news.
things on my mind. He mentioned nightly news, whatever.
Why did
Anyway.
they change the time?
Have to again. Have to refer. I guess we did ask the folks. I think they didn't want the staff here, especially maybe in winter, so late. I mean, 9:30 is kind of late. These guys have a long day. That might have been a part of it, but I can't give you a good answer.
Understandable.
My
Absolutely
bigger
understandable.
concern than this show was my earlier shows, because this means my new shows. Every first Wednesday of the month, I do my St. Albans Today show, inviting the St. Albans mayor and now his counterpart in St. Albans Town, the select board chair. So that kicked that show up to 5 to 6. I was a little concerned about getting people for that, but hopefully it won't be an issue.
They come out.
Anyway, but hey, what can I say, Darrin? If you're going to relate, follow orders. I try to do what they tell me most of the time. But we were presented with a fait accompli, but I'm sure they had good reasons.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true. But I mean, and then they replay the show a bunch of times.
It is replayed, but we do love calls. So if anybody is out there watching us live right now, hey, love to hear from you. Anyway, so I'm sorry, Beck. I'm not sure I give you time to answer. Sixers, have you got some hope they could become the first team to come back from a 3-love deficit?
I think we've talked.
I'd have some hope.
I think I go back to always knowing you, and you're one of the most passionate people I know about anything and everything you do.
I struck myself as being dispassionate. You're more than kind.
And year after year after year after year with the Patriots,
I know you said,
how can you be so greedy?
Right, I was just going to say that. I remember when you said that.
Every year was a new year, and you were like, and to watch, you haven't lived and we haven't done this in years, but to watch a sporting event with you, and you're so engaged and so passionate, and I get that. And I always said,
I think the Patriots maybe more so. I think they might bring out that more. But hey, your guys didn't.
With that Eagles winning the Phillies are in second place. The Sixers are in the second round.
I love your coach. I love your manager, Gabe Kapler. I love Gabe. Gabe, of course, played for the Red Sox.
Oh my gosh!
I was hearing. Did he get off to kind of a rocky start?
Oh my gosh! Yes.
What was going on? I heard some stuff about him.
That was great.
What was going on with him?
Second or third game, he brought in. He called for a pitcher who hadn't even warmed up yet.
Really?
So and then the
pitcher hadn't warmed up.
Hadn't even warmed up.
Did he know that?
There was some confusion, I think. Wow. And then
did the ump intervene or something?
Yes. The ump let him throw more balls than it's allotted for a new pitcher that came
don't ever do this again.
Well, Major League Baseball came and intervened. And the Braves coach got thrown out because he argued with the umpire. So, oh my gosh, you got fans! Look, you got fans here. You got groupies.
I think we have groupies.
You've got groupies.
Talking good working. These are hard-working people here. Pick up a nice paycheck from this place, Miss Sarah out there.
So, anyways, but yeah, so.
Wow. Were there other incidents too?
No, not. It got off to a rocky start. I don't think anybody expected anything from the Phillies, but they're 5 or 6 games of.
So second place?
Second place, above 5. So, anyways.
Right, no expectations.
In question about your Sixers, I am still in utter awe and euphoria about the Eagles winning. About the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. So I'm not greedy about anything.
I can see where that would carry over till the start of next season, maybe forever.
I always said one in my lifetime.
For the record,
one in my lifetime.
The Pats I take seriously. And geez, I feel bad. I realize. I understand your use of the word greedy.
So have you always
Brady throws for 505 yards. They don't punt once, and they still can't win the game.
Do you think that's the best Super Bowl you've ever seen?
Well, I mean, it'd be hard for me to say that because my guys lost. It was. I was in Florida as per usual. The last 3, maybe 4 Super Bowls. I'm visiting my friend Clayman, my Martha's Vineyard friend, who was supposed to call last week. Clayman, supposed to check in and tell us about the Kentucky Derby. It's a story.
Is this like international?
Of my friends. He's my one horse friend. He could have talked knowledgeably about the Derby, which I didn't even. Actually, I flipped it on just by mistake and saw just a jockey in the slop after he had won. Justify, was that the horse that won? How did Gronk? I didn't even know that. How did Gronk do?
I have no idea.
There was a horse. Did you know there was a horse named Gronk?
I knew there was a horse named Gronk.
I think the Gronk, maybe was a part owner. Anyway, back to the Pats. So no, it's a tough loss. They actually got ahead by 1 point there in the second half, but Brady's having a great game, but and of course the Malcolm Butler thing will live on
And the Eagles'
forever.
defense was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, the
what
Eagles'
was the
defense
final
is
story?
horrible.
That kind of
Never.
faded.
Well, you think Belichick? I mean, here, want me to be Coach Bell? Ask me. I'm Coach Belly. Press conference. Coach, what? Malcolm Butler? We do the. What a stupid question, Darrin. We do the best thing. We do the things that give us the best chance to win. What a stupid question. What else am I going to tell you?
But there was rumors.
The line was he was like sick during the practice week.
Right. That's all.
That's all. And he didn't say much. He kind of went out on kind of a high.
And where did he go? Where did he go down?
Geez, who did pick him up? Of course, New Orleans had almost got him in a trade this season. Of course, and then that was weird. I almost said the Celtics. The Pats say, Brandon Cook, see you, Brandon. So much for your 1 year. I'm even spacing out on where Butler went.
Wow, I know.
But that was,
decent.
and it sounds like Brady. I mean, there definitely sounds like there is some Coach Belichick fatigue setting in. I mean,
do you believe all that? Do you believe all that hype?
Well, I think I believe some of it. But I mean, after 18 years, and then of course you're getting some folks like Danny Amendola, who I love. Did you go to the Dolphins?
Amendola went to the Dolphins.
And you're hearing some grumbling from folks who leave, giving the coach some grief, which never happened before. But then the line is, well, that's what Belichick gets for, running such a tight ship and not letting anybody talk and stuff. And I'm saying, well, yeah, I don't like, as a reporter guy, I don't really like that. But gee, sounds like they've been pretty successful. So, maybe by keeping a tight rein on things makes it easier to keep your house together and stuff. So you can argue that both ways.
Right.
But all that said, I believe some of that. I mean, Brady's had some kind of interesting comments here and there. So it does sound like there's some Belichick fatigue. That said, they had the luxury, as Nighthawkers want to remind me, of playing in the AFC East, not exactly a powerhouse division. They still have a pretty good team last time I checked, as long as Brady can walk. And an interesting pick. I wasn't real impressed with their draft, but I guess it got pretty good words. I was kind of on my, I think,
That's what I was
southern
going to
trip.
ask you.
An interesting pick was, they seem to have their usual stable of running backs who they don't care that much about. I mean, LeGarrette Blount, how many touchdowns did he get the season before? I'm sorry, he was with you guys.
Yeah, he was.
He had some good plays
He
in
had
the
some
Super
decent
Bowl.
plays, yeah.
But they seem to have such little regard for. But anyway, their second round pick, I think, was a running back from Georgia. Sony and Jennifer's cousin is a successful lawyer in the state of Georgia, and lives in Athens. More importantly, home of the University of Georgia.
Right.
And their first two picks were the two Georgia roommates, I think. The other guy was a lineman, the first round pick. But this back, Sony, somebody, I'm good, Richard. I can't even come up with his name. But 16 touchdowns last year. It may be. I mean, the thing was, hey, coach, you have a bunch of basic running backs. What more do you need? But if this guy's really good,
The real deal.
that might, maybe that gives Brady a little more of a break and stuff.
Yep. And Gronk's
Anyway.
coming back.
Yeah,
I didn't
Gronk's
even know
back.
Gronk was considering retiring.
Well, I mean, that was a line. I don't believe everything I read. But again, he supposedly
Is he
wasn't.
even 30?
Maybe not 30, but just a history of injuries and stuff. But Gronk's back.
Oh my
and
gosh,
maybe
yeah,
more
a lot of
importantly,
injuries.
Julian Edelman. You might remember the fairly decent catch he made 2 Super Bowls ago. I mean, what a catch. That I'm finally stopped having nightmares about the David Tyree catch after the Edelman, which gave the Giants, of course, their first Super Bowl win over the Pats. But that Julian Edelman catch was unbelievable. So anyway, he's back. Gronk's back. Brady's back. Yeah, we're talking obviously a pretty decent team. But their the defensive effort against and Nick Foles. Hey, kudos to Nick Foles. The guy played out of his mind. But, geez, I mean, did you expect to get that good a game out of that guy?
I had a great feeling. About
Did you about
Super
the
Bowl. Very
game?
nervous.
Sounds like it was sounds like it was a great together team.
And I hope they keep that. I hope.
Don't they have? I mean, most of them. I mean, Foles is back as backup again, presumably, right?
Carson Wentz. I don't know if Carson Wentz is going to be able to start after his injury, but yeah,
But he'll start as soon as he's ready to start. He'll start.
And they took somebody from Carolina, and they already had to get rid of him because he got into some legal trouble. I don't know if it was. Some
But we're talking.
physical abuse,
pretty much the same team. So good. No, if I'm
Some
you
long-term
got to be
contracts
psyched that you got a shot at a
But
second
boy.
straight Super Bowl.
Oh my God! A successful season would be fantastic. I mean, I think Dallas is going to be great. Des Bryant, I can't believe Des Bryant's out there and available. I haven't heard of anybody picking
Who the
him up.
Cowboys just hadn't had enough.
I don't even know what the story was behind that, but
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you may be on an Eagles Super Bowl high for the rest of your life, right?
You know what? I didn't want to be, and again, it'll be interesting when the season starts. But I go back to what we were talking about. Thinking about you, and always your passion. It was
understand.
like the Patriots had never won.
I think I
remember
especially
when I
felt that way with my Duke basketball.
Oh my God!
With Coach K, I mean, they were a wicked good team. How many Final Fours? But they still hadn't won the championship. Going back, obviously, about 90, 91, 92, when they went back to back. But that was kind of always hanging over me. I was with my good friend Buzzy O'Shea, watching the Dukies got a break. This is 91. The year before, of course, UNLV, Tark the Shark.
Yep.
Chewing his towel. They had just run him. It was talk about a painful championship game. I can remember Leonard, who I just saw on the golf course. Leonard saying, "Gee, Richard, that must have been. I feel that must have been a painful guy. I mean, a painful game. It was a horribly painful game. Although, for the record, they did make it to the finals. This was a pretty good team. This is when Bobby Hurley and I guess Christian Laettner were freshmen. Wow. Hurley definitely was, but they got killed. And the next year, in the national semis, they played UNLV again, heavy favorites. I think they were undefeated. Hurley just hit a late three. Laettner played well, and they big upset, beat UNLV. But the other semifinal game was Kansas and North Carolina, as in the Tar Heels. And again, all those games with and Dean Smith, Tar Heels, all those games are so intense. The last thing I wanted was Duke, North Carolina in the finals, my two colleges. That's the last thing I wanted, unfortunately.
Has that ever happened?
And of course, there was Roy, the Carolina coach was coaching Kansas then. And no, it hasn't. But anyway, Kansas beat North Carolina in the other national semi game, much to my happiness. So it was Duke against Kansas, and Dukies won fairly easily for their first championship in 91, then won again in 92, only to have Florida, the only team since it's won back-to-back.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Did they beat Michigan in 90? Is that the Fab Five?
They did. They did knock off the Fab Five. I think for their probably for their back-to-back.
I think it was 92.
The Fab Five, and that was a weird game, which I remember well. Yeah, of course, Jalen Rose a while ago came, comments. Jalen's okay, but just kind of a dig at Coach K, saying, "Yeah, we had the Fab Five, and none of us, Coach K wouldn't have wanted any of us because we were on the wrong side of the hood, basically." Some comment.
Is that what he said? I didn't know.
Of course, academics might possibly come into play a little bit, although Nighthawk wouldn't buy that. Hey, Duke, these one and done, they don't go to class. As soon as they finish the season, they're out of there. I mentioned that to my Duke friend Roy, who said, for the record, Mr. Bagley was, I think, academic All-American this year. But anyway, I get sidetracked on this stuff. But yeah, I think their second championship, they did beat the Fab Four. Christian Laettner was like asleep in the first half. It was a close first half. I can remember Hurley just literally shaking him and yelling at him. Laettner came to life in the second half, and the Dukies won going away. Yeah. Blew them out in the second half for, I think, their second straight championship. Boy, the Michigans this year. That was a good effort. That was a good effort.
Oh my gosh!
Good effort. I'm almost thinking Kansas. Of course, the Dukies lose to Kansas in OT when Grayson Allen misses. You saw the last shot he missed in regulation that almost went in twice. And then, of course, Kansas wins in OT. Right. I almost think they might have done the Dukies a favor. Villanova, and again, geez, kudos to the folks in Philly.
I know, that was a tough one.
Villanova just looked like a great team. So Kansas might have done the Dukies a favor. Villanova just looked like the best team.
And that's Villanova's second one in 3 years.
Second one in 3. Jay Wright, of course, getting just incredibly good words as he should.
And I didn't know. I guess
so
I didn't know.
Villanova, did you get into them being a Philly team? Do they mean much to you?
Had Michigan not been in it, because I lived in Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor for 4 years.
You did not go to the
my gosh, I was lucky I was allowed to walk through the campus. My gosh, it's such a great, amazing school. Zach always says he'd love to go there. What a phenomenal school, yeah.
The big house. It would be kind of fun to go. And how many football games did you go to?
A
bunch?
I had season tickets. I didn't go to any of the big ones. That's when I got into college sports. I think because Ohio State, Notre Dame.
The big house, of course. Capacity about 110,000 or so.
When I was there, I think it's even more now.
Is it even more?
I think it's even more. And
that's unreal.
It's to go to a college sporting event. I'm talking to the right guy for this. There's no better atmosphere.
No, I know, but you're also talking to a guy who was at Duke. Well, the Dukies were like a 500 team when I was there centuries ago. but more recently when they've been a decent
Have you
team.
been when they're a decent team? Have you been?
My friend Roy, I give you my good friend Roy in Underhill, a former fellow IBM guy, had a very good career at IBM.
Mm-hmm.
Roy and our friend Duke and our friend Mike, who was in my freshman dorm at Duke. Mike's done very well. He took over his father's law book publishing firm in Newark, NJ. Talk to any lawyer from NJ and Gann Law Books. I bet they would know Gann Law Books. I think any decision that comes out of the Garden State, out of any court, Mike will hire guys and they'll interpret any decision and stuff. But yeah, if you ever think of that, any New Jersey Gann, Gann, out of Newark, headquartered in Newark, and my friend Mike's he's done very well. Anyway,
he's a
Dookie. He was in my freshman house. Yeah. But Mikey and Roy are season ticket holders for Duke football. That's how impressive these guys are.
And live in Vermont?
Roy's in Vermont and Mike's in New York, New Jersey. They go down to a majority of games. So anyway,
how many games would that be?
They don't catch all of them. They're usually about 6 home games. They probably catch about 3 or 4.
Wait, for football or for?
No, for football.
I thought you meant for basketball. I was like, wait, that's.
They couldn't. I'm not even sure they could fight their way in. No, I'm talking football. Although they'll usually catch. The Dukies always play in New York. They'll sometimes catch at least a game in Madison Square.
Have you seen Coach K coach in person? That's a tongue twister. Coach K
I've seen him. I mean, I've seen him in a few games in New York. Actually, speaking of Villanova, or speaking of Philly, I actually confronted him after the game. This is very early decades before he was a legendary Coach K, probably maybe circa 1980 sometime. With Mike and Roy, we went to a game at the Palestra in Philly. Talk about a great place. They were probably playing maybe LaSalle. And this is not a good Duke team, but I was upset that they weren't playing. What year would this be? Well, again, circa 1980. 80s? I assume 1980s. I was unhappy that he wasn't playing. I swear, after the game, I got down. My vague memories, I got down on the court, I guess, and I didn't beat him up or anything, but I think I did say, Coach, why didn't you play whoever? That's my vague memory. I don't think I'm dreaming that up.
Did he answer you?
I guess. That's, again, a vague memory. But I don't think I'm dreaming that. But Jennifer of 1906 House fame, she was in London. This goes back 10 or 15 years. Happened to be in London when the Dukies played an exhibition game there. And she went to it and was very close to Coach K. She said his language was not real impressive. Some pretty blue language out of the coach.
Wow.
Of course, my beef with him, again, I mean, I'm talking loosely here. Nice to have, 5 championships? Again, my beef with him, just from a reporter's point of view, a local reporter, I mean, he's great. I'll hear him with Dan Patrick and stuff. He's so happy to talk to your national reporters, but I don't think he gives the time of day to local reporters, so that doesn't make me happy. Just as a local reporter and stuff, and living in Vermont, who had the luxury of, having pretty good access to governors and senators on down when I was, doing my full-time reporting and stuff. So anyway, that's a minor
That's a question
point.
for later. So speaking of that, I wonder, where's Bobby Knight now?
Boy, good question. I mean, ESPN had enough of him. I haven't heard even a reference to him for a while.
I know. ESPN.
Which brings, of course, my Dookie
did he
John
get hit
Feinstein.
Did he get hit up in one of those layoffs when ESPN was laying off all those employees?
I'm not sure it was a layoff. I think they just, I think he's just such a controversial guy and stuff. I thought he did okay on TV.
I thought he did really. How ironic he became the press when he was always so hard on the press.
And of course, that brings John Feinstein to mind, the Duke. Have you read any of his books?
I read the first one on the Ravens.
Okay, well, his first one was the one on Bob Knight. A great book. I think it's still about the best-selling sports book ever. When Coach Knight, in retrospect, he probably regrets this decision every day of his life. And Feinstein was a young guy, just a few years out of Duke at that point, but was into sports big time. In fact, my best friend in my freshman house, one Bobby Heller, had a very good career as a writer and editor, especially for Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He was like a mentor to Feinstein. He was a couple years ahead of Feinstein, so Feinstein a couple years younger than me. And Feinstein wrote a cool book a couple years ago, kind of doing a retrospective, going back on just re-interviewing some of the key figures he had interviewed for his books over the years. Guess who was the one guy who wouldn't give him an interview? Bob Knight, of course.
Why did Knight, you think, regret the book?
Anyway, so back to the book. It's a great book.
I think you had it. You were
I'm happy to give it to you. Anyway, but it's a great book. But anyway, Knight gave him total access to the Indiana, always a good team. again, we're probably talking, well, Feinstein would have graduated in 74. This is probably late 70s or so. Total Access, and I thought Feinstein's very good. He's only written about 30 books. I mean, some great stuff.
What I've written.
Very fair, very good writer. He had a sports talk show that was on, carried here, and I guess it wasn't doing so well. I hear him do a CBS Sports Minute. That's does Golf Channel stuff. He's around. Anyway, a very fair book just about Season on the Brink. And
You
again,
have talked
very
about
fair
this.
book. And, I thought he treated Knight very fairly as a wicked smart guy, but, also a guy who could, language wasn't the best. And Knight was bitter in part because he said, Feinstein told me that he wouldn't get into the language I use. Feinstein said, I told him no, told him no such thing. I would write a fair book about the season, which I'm sure is exactly what he did. And it was a very fair, I thought Knight came out of this looking like Knight, looking some good and some bad, but it was a great book. But Knight was bitter, but they got together a little bit. Red Auerbach, the great lunches he had in D.C., remember that for years he would get some of his friends together for lunch. It's near where I stay in D.C. at a
Red
Chinese
Auerbach?
restaurant. Oh yeah, Red. Red was a D.C. guy.
Right.
But for years, I guess, like one day a week, he'd get together with folks for lunch. And Bob Knight was one of the guys who would at least sometimes come by. And Feinstein got to know Auerbach, wrote a book or two about him, loved Auerbach. And I guess Auerbach said, hey, John, why don't you come by? It'd be nice to have you. And I think Feinstein probably said, well, Red, we might have one problem. Bob Knight's probably not, and I'm sure Auerbach said, hey, come by. So he did, and I guess they got peaceful coexistence for a few lunches or something.
Really?
I think in fact Feinstein, one of the books might have been just about the lunch gatherings in D.C. at the Chinese restaurant. I love Auerbach. That gets me going. We're all over the map. Hey, folks, please check in if you want. That gets me going.
Chime in on anything.
That brings to mind Rick Pitino. Talk about a guy I would figuratively hang and shoot in a second just because of his Celtics career. What does he do? He shows up to talk about insufferable big egos. He shows up in Boston. Red Auerbach at that point is the, probably president emeritus. Am I pronouncing that word right? No effective control, but it's Red Auerbach. What are you gonna? Obviously, you're gonna call him the president or something. Pitino couldn't tolerate that. Pitino had to be president. So Pitino shows up and throws Red Auerbach under the bus. So you can be sure I'll be bitter about Rick Pitino for the rest of my life. I mean, how outrageous was that? Plus his coaching drive me crazy. I can just picture him running down the sidelines, yelling at his players, making trades every couple of weeks. Oh, he drove me crazy.
And no success.
But the
no success in the NBA.
Right. I mean, he's done it well. Of course, yeah. I was so sad to see him bounce from Louisville. Right. Of course, I didn't know this was happening. I love these guys.
Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's why I hate Rick Pitino.
I never knew you hated Rick Pitino.
Oh yeah. I mean, just for the Auerbach thing. I mean, I love Red Auerbach. One of my favorite. I mean, for the Celtics. That was an injury. He probably didn't catch
Did you ever get to meet him?
No, not even close. But I have a very good memory. Maybe the last Celtics game I went to, I haven't seen him for decades. But Bill Walton, I think it was Bill Walton's favorite season when he was your sixth man, and he was pretty healthy. I think the next year with the Celtics, he just got back to, what was it, ankle stuff he had or whatever.
So much stuff he had bad
right.
ankles.
So this is 1 year when they won the championship, 1 year that he was healthy. I think he wrote a book. I think I read a book just saying, this is the best. It just doesn't get any better with folks like Larry. I mean, the big three, and Walton's the sixth. I mean, what a year! They had a great time. I caught a game in the then Boston Garden.
Oh.
And I swear I can remember just looking at Walton, just looking at how happy he looked. He just had such a great season.
Did they win a championship that year?
Oh yeah, they definitely won that year. The year I'm thinking of.
I'm trying to
his
think.
healthiest year. He was with them 2 years, maybe three, but the next year I think injuries started. But this 1 year he played, played
Who coached
good
them
minutes.
all those good years? Who
Was K? I think I'm guessing KC would have been the coach
Yes,
then, probably.
Yes. My
Oh, but this
God.
was a controversy that came up. Of course, another one is the Yawkey Way. They just changed the name Yawkey Way.
They changed the
They
name
went
of
back to
Yawkey Way?
Jersey Street, I guess.
Why?
And there were some. Well, Tom Yawkey didn't. I mean, Boston does get nailed. I guess I was born there, grew up in suburbia. I mean, it's hard to counter the criticism that it's had more than its share of racist problems. Anyway, so Yawkey was a South Carolina guy, plantation. I guess his background early on, especially, was not real good on the racial front. But it's interesting because there was some mix. It wasn't a total. Actually, it was some minor commission in Boston that had the authority to do this, and they ended up doing a unanimous vote. But the testimony they heard was mixed. Folks like Jim Lonborg, a white guy, but a pretty smart guy, dentist. His opinion would certainly mean something to me. He said, "Hey, Yawkey had some stuff in his background, but he came around. He did a ton of good for everybody and stuff, and even folks like Reggie Smith. You're very good, talented player, black."
Right.
He said, "No, I'm not buying changing the name. Give the guy credit for So I felt I had kind of mixed feelings about that, but they did. Yawkey Way's history. The thing I was going to mention was this was like, I don't know if it was a Black History Month thing or something like that a couple months ago in Boston, and whoever was giving out awards or something gave an award to Red Auerbach. Not too crazy to me. I mean, only the first coach with an all-black team,
right.
Only the first guy as a general manager to name a black as a coach, Bill Russell, someone who really did seem to be colorblind. Sure, I guess you can say, well, he was smart enough to go with his best players. Yeah, he was smart enough to do that when a lot of people probably weren't smart enough to do that. So I didn't think that was crazy, but some of the black community, and even Marty Walsh, the Boston mayor, just said, "Oh, this is terrible. Oh, what a terrible thing to do."
Just, give Red Auerbach
I guess the reference being to give a white guy the award. Didn't seem so crazy to me, but Boston, those issues are. Boy, this brings me back to D.C. This is some of Boston's worst past. It was a Pulitzer Prize winning photo. Have you ever been to? This is a museum in D.C. Ever get to D.C.?
No, I've been to D.C.
The museum, does that mean anything?
No, what's the museum?
It's not one of the Smithsonian museums, but it's great. As a reporter, journalism guy, it's right not far from. It's Pennsylvania Ave. It's just like about a 10-minute walk from where I stay. In fact, it's funny. The place I stay, the Hotel Harrington, one of your kind of low-end places, it's great. Great location. Guess what is just down? If I walk out of the Hotel Harrington and look down towards the mall, or I'm looking down towards Pennsylvania Ave, one short block away, Trump's Hotel.
You're kidding.
It's very close. But anyway, but the museum has one of their. It's great stuff. It's just if you're into history, it's just American journalism. But it's great. They have a whole section on every Pulitzer Prize winning photo. With a story, and some of the, you've seen probably half these photos anyway, and with the story behind it, background story. And one of them, it was, I think, a Boston Herald photographer, and it's just but it just brings to mind the desegregation when the black kids were being bused into some, formerly all-white high schools in South Boston, probably the most conservative section of Boston.
Were you in high school then?
Boy, probably high school or before even, and it's a photo of a white guy, and he's just a rage on his face, and he's got like a sign or something, like a stop sign, something like that, and you see this black guy right in front of him, and he's about seemingly to just come down on this black guy with his sign, but it brought just the rawness of the situation then right to mind.
And it's from Boston.
This is Boston. Just desegregation. It might have been even a kid, might have been even the black kids getting off a bus, heading into school. And I don't know why I'm on this tangent, but
I love when you go on your
another photo in another Pulitzer, and this is an incredibly sad story. You must have seen this photo. A lot of folks must have. The setting's Africa, the Sudan, I think, with the horrible drought. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people starving.
Right.
You must have seen this photo. It's of a baby or just a skeleton kid, just maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, just kind of sitting down, and you can tell this kid doesn't have much left. Just starving. And then, but it doesn't just show the kid. It shows like a raven or something right next to it, just about ready to pounce on this kid. You never seen that?
I don't think
I'll look. But the story behind it is wicked sad. It's an incredible photo, just bringing just the starkness of the starvation scene. But the photographer,
what year's
oh boy,
I think
I'm guessing maybe 20 years ago or so, I don't know. But the story is a photographer. It's an incredible photo. But guess what the photographer's hit with? The photographer, the photo, is shown, and people were saying, "Well, photographer, why didn't you intervene? You can tell the big bird is going to just, finish off the kid and stuff. Why didn't you try to rescue the kid?" And the photographer's doing his job. Probably felt like there was nothing he could do, Anyway, the photographer ended up committing suicide. I think he got so much grief over that and felt so
You're
bad
kidding.
he committed suicide. But it's an incredible photo. But Kat, next time you're in D.C., Kat's the museum. They've got some of the Berlin Wall in there. The museum. It's not a cheap date. It's like about $20. The second day's free, but it's just American Zach. If you're there with Zach, and my kid hasn't been to D.C. That's one of our first
Your
stops.
kid and all the places he's been
Pathetic.
hasn't been to
Isn't
D.C.
that pathetic?
He's been to more places around the world than I'll
He
ever
knows the
dream
world.
of
Right.
going.
He'll get to D.C. one of these days. Anyway,
How often do you go to D.C.?
What's that?
How often
I
do
used
you-
to go down. I've just kind of gotten off. Some other stuff's gotten in the way. I used to go November for about 5 days, and I used to do a round trip on the train. Love the train. Love
How
the
do you like the
Vermonter.
train?
I don't do it because it just wipes out a day so much. So what I do now, take a 6 a.m. flight, land at 7:30. The Hotel Harrington. Last couple times I've done it. I've even requested the same room. I love the room, 203 I think or 204. And I've been lucky enough. It's November, not a ton of people. Been lucky enough when I walk in like at 8 a.m. I'll take the metro from Reagan National, just to get I got to stop near my place. Walk in typically at 8 a.m. and they would always let you put your backpack in a room. Last 3 years, the room was ready at 8 a.m. instead of the usual check-in time of 3 p.m.
Right.
That's been great. So I could take a shower and stuff. But anyway, but what was your question?
No,
I'm
how
sorry.
often- how
So
often do you get down
November.
there? 'Cause-
So typically I'll fly down 6 a.m. flight, be down there early, have
What's
the
a
whole
flight?
day.
What's a flight cost from?
Oh, last time haven't done it for a couple of
300?
years. Probably like 120, 130
You're
one
kidding.
way. Why does that sound cheap?
Yeah.
That's one way.
That
No,
sounds
it's maybe
really
more like
reasonable.
150. But that just gives me a whole day, and I'll take the train back.
You take the train back.
Take the train. And I
What's
love
the
the
train
train.
cost you back?
Oh,
80,
again, one
90.
way. Yeah, probably. I've got, AAA knocks it down a little. Probably like 60, 70, 80 last time I did it.
We're going to.
So probably about $2 for transportation. And I walk. I'm near Chinatown. I'm near the Verizon Center, right near where I haven't had the good fortune to catch the Celtics here or the Bruins. But I'm right near Chinatown and the mall. I just walk forever. I've got an old friend. My friend Libby lives out near Frederick, Maryland. We'll do our traditional C&O Canal walk one day. We'll do about 10 miles, knock off about 10 miles right out of Georgetown. It's a great trip. I'll hit the museum, bunch of museums. DC is great, and it's that I haven't gotten my kid there. It's
Have you ever
pathetic.
been down in the spring to see what is it? The
Cherry blossoms. Just is such a busy time. I haven't. Great time to be there, but also
But aren't you
a
on your
wicked
trip?
busy
Aren't you
time
on
to
your
be
trip
there.
when you're- don't you?
I do. Yeah, but I'm on my southern sports trip. I could pretty much go right to South Carolina.
How was your?
It's just too busy.
How was your?
No, the
southern
trip
sports
was
trip?
great.
This is where we
Did
get
I-
to catch up. And we don't. It's like
Hey,
protect the
again,
team,
folks,
cameras, blah, blah.
check in. We'll try
Yeah,
to mix
join
in.
the
We'll try to mix in
conversation. Join the
some more
conversation.
sports. Darrin, if I didn't mention this, the one thing, and I was dreading this, and it's your state, and you know my good words about New Jersey. It's the state of my parents. My blood's in. I got New Jersey blood in me. Both my folks were out of Summit, NJ, northern New Jersey.
Yeah.
But again, I was dreading it's taking a toll on me, and it took a big toll this year. The northern part of the Garden State Parkway.
See, I don't touch
Because
the
coming
rest of it. All the tolls?
coming back north, right? The tolls are killing me.
Do you know the Easy Pass? Do you have
Well,
an Easy Pass?
I obviously don't have it, or
Can
I
you
would have
please let
used
me
it.
borrow? I can lend
Believe
you
me,
one.
I will not do the tolls again. They were killing me. I'm either going to find another way from like central New Jersey north, or get an Easy Pass. But
I will lend you an Easy Pass.
Even then, Newark's a pain. But what I do northbound, I'll leave Hilton Head. I'll catch the golf tourney, right? The
Right.
Heritage. I'll leave Hilton Head Monday, go to Virginia Beach, just give me a couple more nights on the ocean, get my oceanfront hotel room cheap, Virginia Beach. Next night, easy drive up to Ocean City. I'll jump into Assateague.
Ocean City, Maryland?
Oh, sure.
You spend the night there?
Yep, always oceanfront, great place. Park Place is a hotel, under $100, very nice place. And I'll jump into Assateague National Seashore, just south of Ocean City. I saw 3 of the horses. You can drive in about a half a mile before you hit the toll gate, but I always see the horses there. There's the
Really?
Verrazano Bridge there.
Yeah.
Not quite as famous as New York's Verrazano Bridge, but another Verrazano. Anyway, but from Ocean City, I've got about an hour drive the next morning up to Lewis, Delaware, and catch the Cape May ferry. Love the ferry, so I'll go over to Cape May and get on. So I'm on every mile of the parkway. But the tolls, Northern NJ, really took a toll. Took a toll.
You got to have an
The
easy
tolls
pass.
took a toll, but even with an easy pass,
I heard the turnpike.
well, but the turnpike's going to bring me. What's the turnpike? Why is the turnpike going to do me good? Anyway, I'm coming up on the parkway. They intersect. I mean, southbound, I'll do the parkway to the turnpike and Delaware Memorial Bridge, and then go down through Delmarva into Virginia Beach. But northbound, why is the turnpike?
dumps you
It's
right
gonna.
into the
I don't want
freeway.
to. But it dumps me close to New York City. I don't want to go near New York City.
Better than
287
paying
again.
those
I just
tolls,
need to look at
287,
it.
yeah.
I guess, but I'm not doing the northern part of the parkway again.
Touring New Jersey.
And plus another hit. So, I barely survived the parkway, especially one toll near Newark. I got over too far to the right. I was in the farthest right
You almost
toll
wound
booth.
up in Newark.
I almost had to get off I thought I was going to get off. I'm bitter at myself. I told the toll guy, I didn't mean to get off the parkway. He said, when you get out of here, go hard to your left. I'm obviously watching other cars, but they weren't happy. I mean, it wasn't going to be an accident, but I had a bunch of horns with difficulty. I get back into the flow of the parkway, and then only to finally survive the parkway, it dumps me out on I-87. Which is easier, but then I'm dealing with trucks, of course, and I don't know if you can picture that. Right where the parkway dumps you out on I-87, there's an old toll place, just like a mile up ahead. They let cars go through now. You don't even need Easy Pass, but trucks still have to pay a toll. So as soon as I merge
On the thruway?
Early on. As soon as I merge on, you see a sign, trucks stay to the right. I think they still have to go through the tolls. So there I am with a ton of trucks, and I'm trying to get over through them. So that wasn't fun. So the nice thing, when I finally stumbled back here, usually it got back in time for the sports show, but it was April when they were transitioning, there was no sports show. I was get back on a Wednesday night. What was nice is I headed right down to Georgia, my first stop, to see Anna Neville, my kid's grandmother, who will turn 94 this summer.
Incredible.
And I saw 13 deer just going down Polly Hubbard Road and then Georgia Shore Road. So that brought me back to life a little. But the parkway's taking its toll on me. Anyway.
It's tough. I'm telling you.
Okay, let's get back to sports. Do we nail down Sixers? I'm not. Did I let you answer my question about
We're
the
a
Sixers?
half an hour away from catching the Sixers game. I want to stay here and watch it. My gosh, the beautiful TV, the beautiful surroundings.
So are you a big Sixers guy?
A big Philadelphia everything. I was surprised.
So everything.
I was surprised.
Give me your. I mean, of the Philadelphia teams, you must say there must be a hierarchy. Are they all the same to you, or?
Well, Phillies and the Eagles, but
So
I don't know. That's
are
a
the
good
Eagles?
question. Patriots, Red Sox.
For myself, growing up, obviously Red Sox, but I almost think I've become more of a hardcore Patriots guy than Red Sox. Almost.
Have you seen Tom Brady play in person?
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't.
No, we have this conversation every
I
time I'm
haven't.
on. Football's the one sport I'd rather
I
watch on
haven't.
TV.
Maybe my biggest sports embarrassment. I claim to be a pretty big Patriots fan. Have I ever seen a game in Foxborough? Never.
But you're not missing. I'd rather
I've
watch
seen the
it on
Pats
TV.
play twice in New York at the old Meadowland. Tony Eason was quarterback for at least one of the games.
Boy, that's the 80s.
But I've never seen
Bledsoe,
the Pats
you
in
never saw play
Foxborough.
Drew Bledsoe then?
No, I saw Tony Eason, I think, probably in both those games.
Wow.
But I've never seen a game in Foxborough, so big sports fan I am.
So I
But
think,
give me your ranking. Are they all the same? You got Eagles, the
well, I
Flyers
think
can't be
baseball's my favorite sport. I
Yeah.
think baseball's my favorite sport. Even
And
if
I
it's boring to watch,
say
but-
and I would say the same. I would
so
say the
that,
same.
I guess that makes it the Phillies, but the Eagles were just so exciting to actually
Hey,
win that
God, you
Super
won
Bowl,
a
know?
Super Bowl.
And so that's
So the Eagles, they'd be hard not to be kind of at the top of the pile now.
top of the pile.
But Phillies are still real big.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm embarrassed to say, I'm embarrassed. Maybe you won't invite me back on the show,
Yeah.
but I couldn't tell you 5 players on the Phillies now.
Yeah, well, I'm not.
I don't. They've traded. They just went from that great team and down to.
No, I hear
but
you.
they're, like I said, they're doing well. They're doing well, and
And again, I pay a
recognize
little
lot of
attention
names.
because I like Gabe Kapler. Gabe, my kind of guy, kind of a overachieving sub kind of guy. I like Gabe.
All of these coaches now, you don't have your old Joe
Pretty much
Torre
have
type
your
of
young
coaches,
guys these days.
statistic type of coaches now. Like they play.
Although
these,
I hope they're not totally. I think Alex Cora with the Red Sox, and I like Alex.
And this is
I'd
his
like to
first time
think, I'd like,
coaching.
I mean, first time, he was a bench coach for Houston last year. Fairly decent
And what
team.
happened to the manager who was with the Sox the last several years?
Mr.
Won the
Fair,
World
John
Series?
Farrell,
Yeah, right.
like at ESPN. I think he changed. I think he got Aaron Boone's job for Sunday night ESPN games, maybe.
How's he
I've
gonna
seen
do
him a
Red
couple
Sox game?
times.
That would be awkward to do a
I
Red
did.
Sox
Well,
game.
I saw him after the Red Sox had won a bunch of games. I thought he was very good. It was kind of tough. I forget who was with him on the set, but he had to talk Red Sox, and the Red Sox were playing out of their minds with their new young manager. He was
How
okay.
hard is that?
Farrell just
Speaking
came
of
across. I mean, I feel a little bad for the guy. They did win back-to-back 93 win seasons, made the playoffs.
But they're just.
But I think that we talked about David Price briefly. The David Price thing last year, when he got into it with Eck, when he kind of, made fun of Eck, Dennis Eckersley.
Yeah.
I love Eck. If you don't like,
How
I'm
can you
saying,
not like
if
Eck?
you don't like Eck, then I just don't think baseball can mean much to you. Talk about a straight shooting, candid guy who's been. And Eck had some issues playing baseball. You don't need to tell Eck a thing about baseball. I don't think that just embittered a lot of people. And Farrell just wouldn't get into it. He just kind of hands off that. John, did you apologize? Oh, well, I think Dombrowski and the owner, I guess they kind of apologized, but Farrell just took a hands off, I guess not wanting, hey, I don't dare say anything to David Price, he's my guy, but that was just kind of, and the team wasn't a fun team.
And Price isn't loved now.
Boy, I don't think so.
You're not a Price fan, huh?
I told Joe on the golf course today, sorry, David, I don't wish you any physical harm, but I almost wish he would just like disappear or something. Maybe his government protection program got a place for him or something. I don't mean to sound, it's hard for me, 31 mil. He's getting, if he made every start, which of course he won't, $1 million a start. Forget how many games he wins.
Can you believe it?
Just the mega contracts, especially for pitchers, And just for the record, I think I said it last week, Mookie Betts, that's one. I'll make an exception there. If you're going to give mega bucks to somebody, Mookie's the guy. Here, Mookie, here's a check. I don't usually do this, but here, let's make it, how about 10 years, and you tell me what you should, what should we pay, what we should pay you. I mean, he just seems that good to me, but I don't usually talk like that. But for pitchers, I mean, 31, they've got him for another 4 or 5 years, I think. He's got an opt-out. Why would anybody in their right minds take this guy? Obviously, they won't.
Nope.
They got him for years and years.
Stuck.
Yeah, stuck. I mean, 30. And the line from John Henry, the owner, also the owner of the Boston Globe, of course, I think he came out, well, we're a little reluctant to pay mega buckos to pitchers over 30. Well, and they did it to Price.
And now you got burned. And so.
Anyway.
Will you get to a Red Sox game this year?
How often do I go to Red Sox? It seems like the only times I ever get it together to go when the Nationals are in town. And I'll go down with Nighthawk.
Right.
You're not in town?
Not in town this
You
year.
go. I mean, you're infinitely better. Don't you usually make it to at least one game a year?
Last year was the first time in many, many years that I hadn't made it to a game.
Is that right?
This year,
You're a better man than me.
This year we're so old that we
Has
actually
Zach been to Fenway
Zach
yet?
has been to Fenway.
Wow.
Zach saw Fenway.
Really?
Been to Fenway for a
Did
Red
Zach,
Sox
was
game.
Zach pretty impressed with Fenway? Did he like Fenway?
Well, we were very fortunate. We were able to get a box.
Good see. A box?
A box.
A box?
We were in a box.
You're kidding,
Yes.
really?
Tickets through a company.
Mr. Bullerus, was he part of this crowd?
Nope. This was.
No, I
this
talked to
was,
Mike at the Run for Jim Sunday. Always
Oh,
good to see
God
Mike.
bless Mike Bo-
And Tony Trainer at the end.
three
Talk
of-
about guys
Yeah.
who have done a
Oh my gosh!
great. Talking about sports.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
first run for Jim that I've
what
missed
a
in
great
years.
event.
How successful?
I mean, I don't know the
I
dollar,
heard
yeah.
the numbers were sensational. I heard
I
the
suspect
kids
they
run
were.
was
I don't have numbers, but I think the
outstanding.
kids run, I think, was the best one.
I heard there was almost 75.
Yep, I heard that
kids,
too.
and
In
it
fact, I
just-
talked toward the end. I was walking, of course, by myself. It's fun. Came across Linda and Dan Marlowe, who were kindly giving out water towards the end. And
Yeah.
I think they had two grandsons, I think, in the kids run.
Can't believe it.
But they said it was excellent.
Did
But
you
no, it was
did you
a-
walk? Did
I
you
walked,
walk?
yeah,
in it?
yeah, I
You walked?
walked.
in
Yeah,
it?
I
Well, the first time I've missed
Very,
the event.
very nice event. Mike was PA guy, did as usual,
Always,
great
Mike
job.
Boas,
Jill
this
Barry
is
Bowen, your boss, I
Possible.
guess, spoke. But very, very nice event.
And
Very
my-
together. But 19 years after we lost Jimmy. In fact, I did my column on it, which is usually on Wednesday. I hope it made it over to the Messenger. Maybe it'll be in tomorrow. But I gave the run some deserved good ink. But talk
Oh.
about a legacy. My last son, and talk about Jim Bashaw's lasting legacy and how many people has he effectively, and the good folks who have donated to the fund. I think Jill Barry Bowen reported that there have been a thousand people or whatever, 1,000
I believe it.
beneficiaries now,
Oh.
raising hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Great program,
Yeah.
great benefits
So Jimmy,
many
boy,
people in our community.
so what good? I mean, his tragic, untimely death, but boy, he's effectively helped a ton of people.
and
What can
year
you
after
say?
year after year, people give.
Yeah.
to
So
this
kudos
worthy
to all the
cause.
folks
Yeah,
who support a great event and all the volunteers and people who do it. So
And you had
yeah,
great
I
weather.
usually walk it. Oh, the weather was great. I felt bad in contrast, of course, to the Sunday before, as in Maple Festival Parade Day.
It's not Maple
Yeah,
Festival if it doesn't
grim-
rain and
yeah,
cold and
what a
miserable.
trash day. That was tough. I was down there with my raincoat and an umbrella. Kudos to Peter Welch. Congressman Welch was walking in the rain. Kudos to him. Governor Scott was up in a big tractor, I believe, with a canopy over his head. And of course, I saw no sign of Bernie or Senator Pat.
President Trump wasn't here.
Didn't see President Trump.
Oh my God.
No, didn't see the president. Anyway, so back to ranking.
Have you made
What-
it to every single Maple Festival since you've been here? How many?
Probably,
How many?
unless I was probably. Well, I've been in town since. I mean, maybe early on I wasn't because I was up in Enosburg for starters. It might not have meant much to me early on. I've been in town since November '75. I ate at a place that makes me. I was in Burlington for about 7 hours yesterday.
Isn't
decided-
we were in Burlington yesterday, Church Street, night and day. Just a half an hour away, and just
Right.
the
Pretty
people
easy place
watching.
to do. I think I may do a column. I mean, pretty easy. I think I think I just kind of take Burlington for granted. I gave myself a few hours there, went to Echo, parked down there, walked on the waterfront, walked on the bike path. I mean, pretty nice spot to have a half hour away. Wouldn't you agree?
Fantastic. I was
Fantastic. Can
looking-
I quote you on that?
Fantastic. You got it.
Yeah. But
Probably
I
said
mean,
so.
pretty nice to have that place so close.
The things that we don't take advantage of around here, Montreal.
Oh, Darrin, it's funny. What a sore spot. I'm pathetic about Montreal. I don't know what my problem is.
Can you explain to me, because you're the most well-educated person I
Oh,
know?
yeah,
and-
right. Well,
and probably
you're
embarrassing.
you're in tough shape.
What's
then.
this new bridge they're building up there?
Oh
We were
yeah,
up
it's
there-
right. It's right
Oh,
next. If you go into
incredible.
town, I mean, have you seen it?
We went up this winter.
It's right next. I mean, it's
meet-
right next to Champlain Bridge.
Oh,
the new
my
Champlain.
goodness,
And what's
the thing's
incredible
gonna be
is I think it
amazing.
was supposed to be finished by like the end of this year. I think they're a little behind schedule, but they seem up there to get these projects together a little more. Yeah, new Champlain Bridge. And again, if not this year, I think it'll be ready by next year.
We drove up there and it was being built. It looks like right in the middle of the river. There's a office building that's.
Is that right?
Have you seen it? Have you been up there?
I mean, I've been up. I haven't been up there for a while, but I have seen the new bridge under construction. But no, Montreal is. I don't know what my problem is.
Have you ever been to the International Fireworks?
I have seen some years back. Actually, my kid. I'll get up there soon because he's into aircraft. I guess they have like an aircraft museum somewhere, and he went, and I'll get him up for that. But no, don't even talk. I'm embarrassed about Montreal.
But you talk about Burlington, yeah.
But Burlington, I
We
almost
were
feel the
down-
same. I had 7 hours here, and it was a fun time. I was going to mention for lunch. I figured I'd better eat something. I probably walked maybe about 8 miles or so. So I was up for some
I
food.
get tired driving 8 miles.
I had a coupon for Ben and Jerry's, but had I been with someone, I would have used it. But oh, you know what hurt me? Rusty Scuffer. Does that mean any of the old Rusty
sure.
Scuffer?
Right
I
on
love
Church
the
Street?
Scuffer. Right
Right on
across
Church
from
Street.
City Hall.
Yeah.
Long gone. Anyway, I settled for Ken's, pub and pizza, whatever. Been there since 1973, 2 years before I showed up. But had a pub club sandwich. Not bad, decent. But I missed
Sit outside?
I sat outside. of
Oh,
course,
wasn't the
yeah.
people watching incredible?
Yeah.
Watching you.
Jumped into it. And also, boy, the only money I really spent was on books, of course. And I love the Eloquent page, which I gave some good words to in a recent column. Lucky
Was
to
it
have
crowded?
in St.
How many
Albans
people
to have
buy
such a good bookstore. But the Crow Bookshop on the north end of the marketplace,
Yep.
that's a very good bookstore. And then, of course, I had Fletcher Free Library. I love public libraries and bought some more books there. I spent over $50 on books yesterday.
How many people are buying books
All
besides you?
used books, but some great stuff, some good stuff. I got one for the Nighthawk because I'll usually give him books for his cruise. I've been after this book for a year, which I read, Candace Millard, The River of Doubt. Anybody wants a good book out there? It's about Teddy Roosevelt, post-presidency. He takes a trip, I think, with his kid and some other folks to South America, barely surviving. The stuff they ran into. Oh, they're out in the jungle.
Was he
I mean,
hunting?
I don't think he was hunting. I think he was being hunted more than hunting. But this is a terrific book, and I finally found it for the Nighthawk, who hopefully hasn't read it by now. Candace Millard, The River of Doubt.
I
Great
wish I
book.
read more. My
Anyway,
God.
so I dropped some money on books, but yeah, anyway.
Do you read online, or you?
Oh, no, you're kidding. You know me. Read online. That I even have a computer is surprising.
Do you think in our lifetime we'll
I mean,
see?
in other words, do I have a Kindle? Last thing I want a Kindle. Give me a book.
I love the feel of a book. Do you think in our lifetime we'll see newspapers disappear?
Well, I mean, look at the free press these days. Don't you get the sense that that's almost,
I
borderline disappearing?
I used to deliver newspapers, and Sundays this big bulky newspaper.
Sure,
And now
sure, Sure.
But do you think
Boy,
in
of course,
your
the
lifetime,
big success story talking about Burlington is 7 Days. I bet
I love reading that
I
paper.
bet I bet 7 Days gets attention countrywide as one of the rare newspaper success stories. I mean, look at the paper. Doesn't that look like an incredibly prosperous paper?
does.
Talk about going against the grain. And kudos, my bias. Lucky enough to write a column for the St. Albans Messenger. Thank you, Emerson. But Emerson and his brother Angelo seem to be also going against the grain pretty well.
they're doing well.
Hanging in there. I think
Yeah.
they're helped probably a bit by the free press fading. And they're smart enough to hit sports so hard. I feel bad.
Local.
We've talked about this with our good friend, Mr. Leonard Parent. Leonard would kill him. And he must kill him to look at the Messenger today, meaning looking in the Messenger and seeing pages and pages of sports. When he was sports editor, he was probably lucky to get like half a page or something. Anyway, but no, newspapers, tough times.
I know. I remember talking to you about the internet when it first came out,
Tough
as they say.
times. Anyway.
Oh, I know. I
So-
know. I
so-
love the feel of a newspaper.
Yeah. Oh yeah, newspaper and books. In fact, I bought 2 more books just today.
I didn't know you got the Wall Street Journal.
I
You're
do
a
get
Wall
the
Street
journal. Do I
Journal
read
and
it?
the
Do I
Globe?
read it well? No. Globe, Herald.
How many papers do you get a day?
And again, don't confuse buying with reading. It's pathetic. These guys pile up 2 Boston papers: Globe and Herald, Free Press, Messenger, Wall Street Journal. I guess that's it for daily papers.
For you, have never been lucky enough to be
Actually,
to
it's
the
funny you mentioned papers because they
Duke's
still
house.
haven't sent it to me. Politico. That's
Have you cleaned out any of the papers out of your house? You must.
I've
you
got
must be
my
sitting on
friend Laura in Enosburg, Laura Lorenzini, is good enough to tackle my house once in a while.
But
At times I make slow
it's a
progress.
museum. It's a museum in itself.
Yeah, but that's not good. I do eventually recycle most of this stuff. I get the Courier too, of course, of anything local. Back to Philly, though. We haven't even
Philly.
touched on the
Back to- oh my
haven't
God,
even
look at
touched
it.
on the Flyers.
We've
John
only have 20
LeClair's
minutes
old
left.
team.
20 minutes. Oh yes,
What-
I was impressed that they made the playoffs.
Didn't
Didn't expect them to go far.
I'm not even sure
Crushed
I
by
noticed
Pittsburgh.
that.
Crushed by
They
Pittsburgh.
did make. Oh, that's right.
And Washington
Philly,
just
Pittsburgh.
finally.
Washington finally beat Pittsburgh. I happened to see the OT goal the other day.
I'm kind of rooting for Washington. I mean, I'm not. Again,
Well,
like
now that if Boston was still, well, of course, Boston would be playing if they had won. Boston can't beat Washington. They just can't beat those guys. So we're
And now
talking.
they beat Pittsburgh.
We're talking Washington and Tampa Bay.
Yes.
I guess I don't care. Tampa Bay beat the Bruins. Now, I guess it's hard for me to root for the Capitals because they've been the nemesis team for the Bruins. I don't particularly
watch the-
care.
will you watch
I
the
probably,
hockey?
I am watching. I do watch some Stanley Cup. I mean, we talk about on this show a lot. Is there any champion more worthy than the hockey champion? I mean, every game, these guys are slugging it out. I mean, wouldn't you agree to that?
My favorite sport to
I
watch.
mean, don't you think
live.
the Stanley Cup champion deserves the most praise of any champion team? Maybe you never thought about it.
I never thought about it.
Think of what they're going through. Look at each hockey game, Darren. They're killing themselves out there. 7 game. We have 7 game tomorrow night, right? We got the Preds and the
Winnipeg
and Winnipeg.
Yep. And
the Golden and the Vegas
team.
Knights.
Oh my gosh,
is that another 7th game? Have they got a 7th game?
Oh boy, you're putting.
I may be missing one team here.
You're putting it.
Have they got a 7th game?
That Vegas team.
Boy, Vegas, what
Jets,
a-
Predators,
Jets, Predators,
and
and the Knights haven't. Don't they have one more game to go? Or geez, folks, this is where we could use knowledgeable people out there.
Caps won. Where we could use.
Oh yeah, Caps, Tampa Bay in the East. We're just missing. The Vegas Knights. Here we go.
The Knights won. They're waiting.
They're waiting.
They're waiting. Yes.
I finally have it in front of me.
They're
San
waiting.
Jose. They beat San Jose in the last game.
So they're waiting for the winner of the Jets Predators, which is tied
Yeah,
up 3-3.
gotcha. Vegas,
Jets,
Vegas. Yeah, gotcha.
Riveting TV.
Okay, wow. So that's a good series. So Tampa Bay and the Caps and
Where are
the
you watching?
Nashville
Where are the
win-
hockey? Oh, is NBC carrying some of these hockey
No,
games?
a lot of them are like not MSNBC, NBC Sports.
Sports,
On
yeah.
my HD, it's like 774. or
You
so.
have HD?
I got
Look at this
don't ask
guy.
me don't ask me what I'm paying for this stuff.
Oh.
But I love to watch the hockey night, and sometimes I watch the hockey night in Canada, folks. You know, just Montreal. I mean CBC out of Montreal.
Right.
But so the West, I might be up. I mean, I love it when a Canadian
Oh,
team
this
has a
Vegas
Canadian
team.
team not won since '93. Or is that the?
You're
It's
boy.
been, and don't you feel bad for Quebec City? They've got a beautiful arena up there and no team.
I've
They
never
built
been.
a new arena.
Have you been to Quebec City? I've never
Oh, my
been.
kid loves Quebec City.
Your
It's
kid-
been
your kid's so
no, I
lucky.
haven't been there much, but yeah, one of his trips, I think he ended up in Quebec. He loves Quebec City.
I would
Oh,
love,
Quebec
I would love
City's
to do that,
great.
and I'd make
Haven't
it.
been there again. I'm embarrassed about my north of the border, low profile. Anyway, so we have Game 7. Is that tomorrow? Let's see, tomorrow night.
I can tell.
Tomorrow night.
I can
Yeah,
tell.
we got
8 p.m.
Yeah, because the Preds won that
Jets,
game to even the
Predators, yep.
series. 8 o'clock. And
This Vegas team's incredible.
NBCSN, NBC Sports Network. Yeah, tomorrow night at 8. Oh no, I'm getting the Stanley Cup.
Oh, I
The
love
Bruin-
hockey.
boy, the
Hockey's
Bruin-
my favorite sport to watch.
I feel kind of mixed about the Bruins. I mean, had you told me preseason, hey, would you get them into the second round with a good season? I would have said, hey, absolutely. You kidding me? They were a marginal playoff team. But having had a very good season, losing the last game to Tampa Bay, I was on the road then. Had they won that last game, they would have had home ice advantage. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered. Tampa Bay had the better team.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just having an easy win in the first game, at Tampa, and then losing 4 straight, including 2 at Boston, it didn't leave the best taste in my mouth.
Tampa Bay and Vegas.
But still, it was a good season.
Did you ever think in your youth, like the original 7 hockey teams,
Original-
Tampa Bay and Vegas?
Original,
playoffs?
Original 6. You mean? You
Original-
purposely
original
6.
six.
I don't think 7 would have worked too
Original-
well. You can't give me the original 6, of course.
Canadians, the Rangers, Bruins,
Yeah,
Toronto.
yeah.
Oh boy, don't help me. Don't.
I think you're missing the 2. Go west a little bit. You're missing the
Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, and
And
not,
Detroit Red Wings.
there you go. Very good.
My
My
gosh.
memory of the original 6, and again, I'm a kid. My memory, the Bruins were horrible. Teddy Green was a very good Bruins defenseman. They didn't seem to have too many other good players, but they were typically a last place team. And I swear, I listened to radio. I listened to a lot of sports on radio then as now. Of course, Johnny Mose. I had years with Johnny Mose
Mose?
and the Celtics. But I can remember, it seems like listening to the Bruins game. It'd be the first Bruins game that they would lose, first game at home. And it was someone up in the second balcony, the gallery gods up there. I mean, talk about wild times up there. And I can just hear somebody, a booming voice, wait till next year, after they lose the first game en route to yet another losing season. Can you believe? Yeah, I was an
you
original
remember-
6 guy.
I was going to say, you
Oh,
remember,
yeah.
So, and they just constantly played each other?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And taking train, this is probably mostly by train too. And in those like 50s, I don't think anybody was flying probably. Train trips.
I was talking earlier in the show about Michigan and going to Michigan games and the environment.
Yeah, that
there,
must be incredible.
we used to go to Red Wings games. We
Yeah.
guys living in Michigan, and we go to Red Wings games. And you talk about passionate, knowledgeable.
Yeah.
fans.
And full house,
And the
pretty
Red-
much
Oh,
full houses
throw
always.
The octopus on the
Right.
ice. And
That's the
playoffs, and
Detroit
yeah,
thing, right?
That's a Detroit thing.
That happened. I mean, towards the end of every game that happens.
In the playoffs, whenever
And so
there was
it's
a
a
goal
playoff
scored,
sign?
when there was a goal scored. But boy,
Where did that? Can you give me the
origin of that?
the origin of that, the
know what?
derivation of that?
20 years ago, I would have known about that because they would have talked about that all the time.
That's the funny
don't-
thing. So they throw an octopus,
I don't remember.
presumably a plastic octopus.
It had
or-
something to do with the tentacles and how many games you had to win in order to
Is that
win
right?
the
That's
Stanley Cup.
great.
I can't remember. There's your homework.
But of
for
course,
tonight.
did the confetti guy in Philly get any grief the other night? Didn't it take
How
about
is
10
it-
minutes to get the
Yeah,
confetti off?
How crazy was that? That's the one thing I miss. I don't think with the.
So we have, that's much on your mind. That game's about, we're out of here and that game starts, right? Probably about 8-10 start or so.
Yeah. It's a shame the phone lines don't work here.
I don't feel
But
totally.
I love this. I love this. This
I don't
is great.
I hardly feel totally confident. I'm no Dan Shauna. He drives me crazy with those columns. I do give him a little credit. Did the same thing with, I told you, Pat's Eagles. I do give him credit, though. He'll go back later on and say, yeah, here's a smart guy who said the Patriots would roll over the Eagles. So he's not afraid to.
Admit when he's wrong.
Right. I'll give him
Well, let's
that.
go a little bit the other way.
I'll give him that.
Let's go. And basketball, to me, basketball has never been, I've never been so, because I like the way that these teams trade now. And these teams.
You got to like, don't you like, don't you got to,
looking forward to Golden State, Houston? That I'll watch.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent. I don't watch a lot of non-Celtic basketball, but to some extent, that should be a good series. You see that as a, is that a toss-up series to you?
Everyone's saying Golden State as long as they stay healthy, but I think it could definitely be a.
Houston looks pretty good. No, that sounds like that should be a series.
And go back, and I was going to say, I was surprised.
But no, I don't pay. I mean, they're two very good teams, but that doesn't mean all that much to me. Stanley Cup, no? I'll pay way more attention to Stanley Cup than when one of my teams isn't in there.
The Super Bowl to me was phenomenal, but it wasn't enjoyable because it was so stressful.
And I think I've told you that myself. I find that more and more with me, like even like Duke games and stuff. And sometimes I feel like I'm a jinx. It seems like far too often, especially when I flip on the radio, bad things will happen. I'm getting almost a little paranoid about doing
superstitious?
that. It's not like I'm watching every second of these big games. A lot of times I'll do my walk at Killcare and pick it up, halfway through or something.
I'll pick up the phone.
But part of it is paranoia. It just seems I should note that might be a good column. I should note this and do a log of this because I'm thinking I'm just a jinx. I'm thinking more and more I'm a jinx and I'm paranoid to flip on a game of my team. But no, it is stressful. I don't even enjoy Duke postseason. I don't even really enjoy these games.
But
They're
all
too
the
stressful.
championships you've won.
I know.
So like the Golden State, Houston, to watch
great series.
To watch enjoyable basketball, just sit back and have nothing invested.
I'll go. That's a good point.
I'll go home and I'll watch the Sixers Celtics tonight.
Yeah.
Obviously, wanting the Sixers to win, not invested like I was with the Super Bowl because I didn't expect to get the Sixers to get this far.
Yeah. But even if they lose, Darrin, you've turned it around after. I mean, you had a couple 3.
Oh my gosh!
Four
and next year they're saying
horrible years.
Next year there's talk of going after LeBron. There's talk of this guy from San Antonio bringing him.
In fact, I heard LeBron. I heard Colin Cowherd today. He has just LeBron. I like Colin. Couple 3 places, and I think he said Houston might be one of the places.
Oh, could you imagine?
New York came up, and everybody seems to be saying no. LeBron is not stupid enough to go to New York.
I wanted to ask you.
Philly, are you hearing, is there some halfway serious Philly talk for LeBron?
They don't think so, but it was one of the teams. They said he was there looking at
Who does it
schools
sound
for his
like?
kids.
Houston? What other team? LA, of course. You always hear LA.
Houston,
maybe.
LA. Was there Miami? Talking Miami? Go back to Miami?
Maybe. Is Miami good enough? He's only going to go to a team that he thinks has got a real shot at
Cleveland. I'd love to just see him stay in Cleveland.
Yeah, but of course he'll get a ton of. But yeah, no, I'm impressed he went back.
But what I wanted to ask you, we were talking about earlier, the Patriots.
Yeah.
Being the Eagles fan, I was surprised how many people were rooting for the Eagles just because they didn't want to see Brady win again.
No, why would you be surprised at that? Same thing with Duke.
Brady seems like a decent
How many
guy.
Duke fans are there who don't have a Duke connection? Do you think people hate? I go back to it again.
Why do they hate Duke?
I think their first championship when they finally won one, we were en route. I was with Clan Man at Bridgewater Raynham and Dog Track. Then we were watching the game inside. I think he was watching simulcast, horse dog races. But we had the basketball game on, and there was a guy next to me. I'm telling you, I made some early noise for Duke, and I saw the way this guy looked at me. I think he had some I forget who they beat. They beat somebody. I think he had some serious money, but I'm thinking, boy, my life's in danger. I was thinking this guy might have stabbed me, but he hated. The hatred I see of people on Duke, it scares me sometimes. But again, it's like anything else, a successful team, easy to hate. But the Patriots, who's going to want the Patriots?
But to me, Brady's always seemed like
Patriots. Brady seems like a pretty upstanding.
Yeah, he doesn't cause problems, but they're like,
Although he'll get some grief about always complaining to the refs, it's like anything else. Anything so successful. The Yankees used to, I'm sure run into that. But I see, especially with Duke. I think I maybe even did or maybe talked on this show. Sometimes I feel like being a Duke fan, a Patriots fan, these wicked successful teams, and knowing the hatred out there for these guys. I feel like almost a little bit of a burden at times.
I feel bad that you get so stressed out
I
watching
can
it.
feel the hatred that's out there about these guys.
And then you put it all into perspective when you say price, $31 million. $31 million, my goodness. I make more money than everyone I know.
Again, $1 million to start. Oh, that he would start 31 games. And what do we have? Finger numbness now? Oh boy, they're running big time. This last start, were they out in Oakland? I forget where they were. Were they on the road somewhere? He just didn't have anything. He got hit hard, but boy, all the folks after the game were, you know, it might have been Eck, but it was everybody just saying, boy, he just had nothing. There's got to be something going on with this guy.
And how many more years has he signed through?
Oh God, I think he's got another 4 or 5 years. And the opt-out's a joke. Yeah, I'm sure people are going to be lining up to take that $31 million a year contract.
It's like Ryan Howard, the Phillies. Sometimes the Red Sox will pay somebody to take him.
Yeah.
For that other.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Look at this.
So we've covered just about all. We covered all
We've
your
caught
guys.
up. This is where I get to see you. I used to see you all the time, and this is
Good.
where I get
Very,
to.
very good to see you. Thanks
God.
for jumping on.
I wonder how many people will watch us in reruns. And
probably
enjoy
some
our-
folks. Probably some folks.
Boy, but I can't reiterate.
Nighthawk will come back, folks. Just give him another couple of weeks. The Nighthawk hasn't forgotten about us.
But I can't reiterate to people enough what a great facility this is.
No, it is. It's a
Channel
beautiful
15.
facility. And again,
What a way to get
kudos to the staff
Zachary,
and
Zach
the
is
folks
going,
who
Zach
put up the building. It's
and what a great way to get your message out or to get your program
again, it's
on, and
public access TV.
It's
right?
your television show. It's your
In
station.
fact, I'll mention it. I'll do special shows once in a while, but tentatively scheduled. I've been wanting to do a show with St. Albans Police Chief Gary Taylor. And of course, nothing's going on with the PD. Nothing goes on around here. I'm kidding. Those guys have their hands full, but with their street crimes unit and stuff. So the tentative date, folks, it'll be a taped show, but hopefully by late May, hopefully cover a lot of ground with St. Albans Police Chief Gary Taylor, who I look forward to interviewing again, and I think a couple of other officers too. So, but yeah, public access. Just give Elizabeth a call.
And this
She's
building,
the person to call.
just even to drive up and where Burt Paquin's is, I don't know the name, right behind Paquin's.
Yeah, just keep going on the road.
And you see your directions were perfect, but a big sign out.
Yeah.
Northwestern Access, Channel 15, and
So anyway, what other sports do we got? A couple minutes left. So Stanley Cup, have you got who? Do you care who wins? Have you got any favorite?
Vegas, Washington.
Vegas would be a great
Vegas
story.
would be cool. What an amazing
Bruce
story.
Cassidy, the Bruins coach, would have thought would have been odds-on coach of the year, except for the even more incredible Vegas story. I mean, unreal. These guys.
Has a new franchise
Made
ever
make
won
it-
a championship?
They're in the final. Oh, I can't imagine they did, unless you go back to like the Bruins, when the Bruins beat the St. Louis Blues, maybe one of the more famous sports pictures ever. Bobby Orr scoring the winning goal as he's horizontal in the air. I think the Blues might have been, because they just played the Western Division winner that year, and I think all those teams might have been first-year teams. I might be wrong, but aside from that, this is unreal.
Yeah,
and I guess the folks in Vegas are going crazy. Good for them. And of course, Vegas gets a football team as soon as they finish the stadium. Oakland's here in a couple of years or so.
Gruden, that'll be exciting.
Vegas is
I'm
such a
surprised
scene.
they don't have a baseball team. I'm surprised that
They've got.
Have you
Of
been
course,
to
they
Vegas?
do.
I've
They
never
do have
been.
a trip. Oh yeah. I mean, Caroline Bright, my kid's sister, Miss Vermont, Miss America contest.
Is that where she's based out of?
No, but I mean, she was in Vegas for Miss America.
Oh, for Miss America. Yes,
I've
sorry.
been. And I think I was here the year before. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been to Vegas. I love scenes. What a scene.
Oh,
Glitter Gulch, unreal.
I've got to get to Vegas.
But it's been a while. But no, sport. They've got a AAA baseball team. Yeah, you hear them talked about for MLB, maybe at some point.
I would like to see.
Of course, Nighthawk would kill for one of the Florida teams. Nobody.
Tampa to come back to Montreal.
Tampa and Miami. I mean, talk about two pathetic franchises.
To Montreal.
Yeah,
It'd be
get 'em-
perfect.
get 'em
Especially
back to
Tampa.
Montreal.
Red Sox, Yankees.
But I feel worse for the folks in Quebec City because they've got the new stadium and no
hockey.
team. And Canada should get, Canada's where they should get team. I'm glad Winnipeg's doing well. Folks in Winnipeg are going crazy. I bet a Winnipeg game, you got probably 75% of the Winnipeg area folks watching that game. Maybe 95%.
Oh, I remember.
Hey, we're down to seconds here.
Oh my gosh!
Any final sports thoughts?
Thank you for having me.
Great
It
to
was
see you,
absolutely
Darrin. Try to get John
enjoyable.
more often. Great to see you, buddy.
Get Zach here and
Yeah, look forward to
go
Zach.
for his team. That'd be great.
Zach, but Zach probably
Safety.
never has an off season. There's probably no time we could ever get, so maybe in winter.
I remember when he used to be so
We'll
excited.
get him. Maybe we'll get him in winter sometime.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks
Thank
to
you.
Big Zach. Thanks to staffer Zach here for doing all the hard work. Darrin, thanks a lot. Great to see you. Thanks, folks, for watching the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. Have I got the right camera? Yes, I do. See you. See you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.